Hey, folks. We're going to talk about the new moon in Scorpio, which is on November 20th. And I'm going to talk a lot about the time period coming up to that because it's just so important, especially with Mercury retrograde. It will retrograde back into Scorpio. This new moon is in Scorpio at the same degree that Mercury retrograde will be. And we have a lot of other interactions right around the same degree as this new moon on November 20th. And I have written out the Mercury retrograde blog, and that is on my website. Get my newsletter. I send it right to you. And it's on my website, and that will also give you more information aside from what I'm about to tell you with this new moon in the sign of Scorpio. So let me come and I'm going to share that screen with you. See if I have that up. Sometimes these movable toolbars, I know, sorry. These toolbars are always in my way. There it is. Yes, there is that new moon in the sign of Scorpio. It's at 28 degrees. And it's right here with Mercury retrograde. It's also opposite Uranus. So the energy around this is super significant. And so let's just get started. So I want you to know, I mean, since this new moon in Scorpio on November 20th, it's giving us a powerful opportunity to process our emotions and to move forward. You know, it's time for us to pay really close attention to what's rising to the surface because that's what Scorpio represents. And since September 22nd, we've had at least one planet moving through Scorpio. And that started with Mars and then Mercury and now the Sun and the Moon. And then Venus will be moving through as well. And so over this time period, with the first connection to 28 degrees of Scorpio, that is a few weeks after what I'm talking about. So let's move past that. But I want you to think about the approach coming up to this new moon. Again, because it's what I started with, because Mercury is retrograde and there are so many other planets in that sector that, we've had Mars come through, we've had Venus come through. I know I'm just repeating myself. And we had all of them in an opposition to Uranus, as you can see right here. And it just really creates a lot of momentum for us to process and move through a lot of psychological things that may be holding us back, things that we have forgotten were under the surface, you know what I'm saying? And it's just bringing stuff up to the surface. That's what that Scorpio energy represents in a lot of ways, right? So, especially if you're watching this forecast before the new moon, so before November 20th. And I don't care what the date is, but just as long as it's before November 20th, I want you to take this opportunity and intentionally work on the processes that need to come up and out so you can then name them, label it, look at it, process, and let those things go. Because we're in the waning lunar phase from the time I posted this until we get to that new moon. We're in that waning lunar phase, and the whole process just represents an opportunity for you, for me, for us to work through those deep things that have been going on inside for a long time. Scorpio time of year is meant for us to move things up and out and to process things so they can be complete. And that is what we have with this Uranus with the Uranus part two. I'm going to talk about that in a sec, but with that Mercury retrograde at 28 Scorpio, along with that new moon at 28 Scorpio. And so, this is a time for us to stop and pause. I know I'm talking fast, and to reflect on what's going on. Ask yourself honest questions about what is important for you. Ask yourself what's hidden, what's buried. What is it that I need to pay attention to if you don't know, right? What am I holding on to that no longer serves me? And I know that sounds like full moon energy, but what it is it's waning lunar phase energy, especially with the sun in Scorpio. And as Mercury gets closer and closer to retrograding back into Scorpio, Actually, what day does that happen? Where's my ephemeris for today? It moves back into Scorpio here in November, obviously. It moves back into Scorpio sometime around the 20th. So it's not too far off from, it's like the 19th to 20th, not too far off from this new moon. So pay attention to that. So with Mercury retrograding, mostly in Sag at the prior energy to the new moon. So that also represents an opportunity for us to pay attention to what we've said. Mercury in Sag, especially retrograde, just doesn't know how to stop talking. And sometimes we just say too much, or the truth hurts, fill in the blank. Sometimes it's just too much information, too many things have been said. And that is usually what is the cause of what is coming to the surface. All right, Mercury retrograde. And then just before the new moon, a couple days before the new moon, when Mercury retrogrades back into Scorpio, and the moon is in its last phase, the balsamic lunar phase. So we're really coming up close. It's like the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th of November. Those periods are really great for the deep work if you want to do it. Sometimes it's going to come up whether we want to do it or not. Scorpio sometimes insists that we focus on what is not serving us, what old patterns, old fears, old wounds need our attention so we can move through them and gain some clarity. When we get to the new moon, it invites us to release that, which creates space. And the new moon is a dark moon, by the way. I'm sure you know that. But it creates that space so we can then allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel and release it. And that creates the space that we need to initiate and begin some new things with the new moon. Okay, so that's a piece of it. And then when we have this Mercury and the new moon all opposite Uranus, this opposition just adds a layer of unpredictability, but also a layer of awakening and awareness. Oppositions always show us an awareness. And we have a new moon, that means the energy is all in the same place, and we can't really see everything when it's just us. And when we have an opposition, like full moons, but when we have an opposition with this new moon opposite Uranus and Taurus, it's giving us an opportunity to really see, it's reflecting back to us what we value. What are you seeing around you? What's being shown to you? Gives us all those opportunities to work with that. Just be open, be open. Do your shamanic work, do your deep meditations, whatever it is for you. Do your journaling, do you write things down and release it, burn it, whatever you want to do. Since Scorpio is a water sign, I actually would recommend not necessarily fire, but if you're going to write on a piece of paper, write it and then put it in water, and eventually it just dissolves into nothing. That's a nice way to do it too. And then you can just pour that into the ground if you like, or whatever rituals you'd like to process. Just a thought, okay? Just a thought, because I love to do things like that. Usually it's just a natural flow. I don't actually plan around those things, but that is a way that we can use that and do that energy. Now, there's some other really deep ways that we can process Scorpio energy, but you can work with that, whatever. I know there's plenty of other ways. I'll write it down. I don't want to say it out loud. And so there are other ways to work with energy, eighth house stuff. And so it's Scorpio stuff. And so work with that. And then that eighth house, that Scorpio energy, also we can look at, the financial situation that you're currently in and what that looks like to you. What assets do you have? Are you, saving money? What are you doing to process and to evaluate and evolve in something that's important? Now you'll want to look at what house this is in for yourself. And if you know, I'd love you to write it below and let me know how it's working out for you. And for me, it's in my seventh house of partnerships and relationships. And, there's none of that in my life right now. I mean, I have a few business collaborations, but there's not much of anything else. So time will tell what I'm going to be working on, right? And for you, what does that mean for you too, right? Not that if it's in your seventh house, but what house it's in. So process that and think about that and spend some time In the new, once you do all of the prep work, like I said, the releasing, the approaching, the directing, because I'm putting this up the day Mercury goes retrograde. Heaven forbid, I try and record this the moment Mercury is retrograde, which I am actually doing right now. It's at 2 in the afternoon. I know, Sunday, November 9th, and I am recording this. I wrote this a couple days ago, so you're going to find it on my website, this new moon forecast. I haven't posted it um, while I'm recording it. It'll be up before you see this. But yeah, Mercury retrograde at 2:02 Eastern time, and it is now 2:07. So I started doing this at the station of Mercury. What is it doing in your chart, too, right? Okay. Put a parentheses around that. Let's come back to this new moon opportunity for reflection, opportunity to say, where do I need to go deeper? And that's what we want to do with this new moon. It's like practical ways to use it. Where do I want to go deeper in my life? What is it that gives me pause so I can process and cultivate something that is even better? So look at that because new moons are always about that. Always journal at new moons. Please, please, please. I do a lot of lunar gestation cycle stuff in the weekly forecasts, and those are behind a paywall just because this is my living. So I would love your support there. It's on Patreon and on YouTube. 10, 11 bucks, something like that, for a month, and you get 4 forecasts plus all the other stuff. And so it's worth it. And so come and support me there. And if you're seeing this just anywhere else, just comment, like, share, 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 comment always helps too. All right. Incorporating just small rituals, incorporating writing down what it is that you want to, like, say, take a deeper dive. And again, find that house placement and help yourself with that. So process that, process deeper emotions that have come up during the waning lunar phase before this new moon, process those things. And you can write down, it's just like, how can I fully work with the knowledge I now have because I've processed some very deep psychological things. Do you really want to? You can, you can. This is a great opportunity just to dig deep in your own psyche and figure out what's the best thing for you to do and to move forward. What's the best way for you personally to move beyond old patterns, old fears, and what steps can you take to build your own your own security, not that you're unsafe, but your own security and your own, trust in yourself, right? That's what we get to do here, and it just helps to move us forward. And since this new moon, like I said, is also opposite Uranus, and Mercury's going to come through there one more time. It's there right now at 28, 29. It's going to come through for a third time in the near future. That is written out on my blog post, my Mercury retrograde blog post, the exact dates of when other planets are activating this new moon in Scorpio. It's going to be really important because this gives us a chance to edit life and to move into something different, right? And just an opportunity for us to experience something on a deeper level, but after we've cleared out the junk or the things that just haven't been working very well in our lives these days, okay? And you can see here we have an awful lot at the last couple of degrees of the zodiac signs they're in. Here's the sun, moon, Mercury, as we've been discussing this whole 15 minutes, opposite Uranus, and then over here to Neptune, and then over here to Jupiter. That's a little off by 4 degrees, and then Saturn. So this kite, so grand trine in water, which has been going on for weeks. It will continue to some capacity, off and on until mid-December. And that means that we need to trust what we feel, trust our emotions, take good care of yourself, because collectively we've all been going through an awful lot. And even if you don't pay attention, I mean, I have a few family members that don't pay attention, don't have any interest whatsoever in what's going on, even though they should. That's the choice. Point is, if you're not paying attention to what's going on in the world, you can still feel it from those around you. you can still, there's a collective feel that we have going on right now that there's just so much changing that it's hard to even like pinpoint what it's going to look like at the end. And we don't have to because we're right now, we're all in a process of evolving and changing. And, the world around us is doing the same thing as well as the planet. So we have all of these opportunities for you to do your own personal work. And that keeps you as clean and clear as possible and as self-care, grand trine of water, as self-care as much as possible. So when there are things that need to be taken care of, you're not so overloaded that you can't manage, you can't help. And be open to something fresh and new. This Uranus opposition is absolutely helpful for that. And oh my gosh, always so much more. The weekly forecasts are fabulous. I hope you can join me over there. Please consider that. And keeps the free content coming too. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. Blessings and namaste. Let me hit the pause. There we go.